everyone. Just thought I'd start things off with a little lick there. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Rob Reed, and we are doing our guitar lesson, our Wednesday night weekly guitar lesson. Thank you for joining me. Grab your guitar, grab some coffee, relax. Not coffee, just some water or something. You don't want coffee at this hour. Maybe you do if you're my aunt. All right, so let's jump into it. Tonight's lesson is all about the foundation of music. What do you think the foundation of music is? In other words, what is the building block? What is the essential component or the foundation of all music? What is the building blocks? What are the building blocks of music? So for example, in life, we know that the building blocks of life are atoms and molecules, and water can be considered the building block of all life, and that's a molecule. Okay, so what do you think the building blocks of music are? And think about that for a second. You can write it down. Write it down in the chat and send it to me. And I'd like to get some answers. So what you think the building blocks of music is? Is it scales? Is it chords? Is it arpeggios? What do you think it is? All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what I think, and you can disagree with me if you want, but I think the building block of all music is what is called a semitone. I think a semitone is the basis of all music. And another name for a semitone is a half step. Okay? So a half step or a semitone is the basis of all music. Think of the semitone as the atoms. Okay, I took chemistry in university, so I'm kind of taking some chemical analogies here. And so I think the semitone is like an atom in music. Okay, so we're looking at things a little bit differently tonight. We're just looking at a tiny little bit of theory, but it's super cool and it's super important, and I think you'll enjoy it. So nerd out with me here for a little bit. I promise I'll make it as clear as possible and it won't be too technical, okay? So let's get back to it. Semitone is the basis of all music. You're like, okay, well, so what? Okay, that's fine. Well, if you understand a semitone and how it works, then you can go from there, you can build all musical structures and chords and arpeggios, and you can understand how all music works, because this is the foundation. Okay, and we're going to go through it and check it out tonight. Okay, so semitone. And if you take two semitones and put them together, what do you think you get? Or if you take two half steps and put them together, what do you think you get? You get a tone, or a full step, or a whole step. Okay, so music is based on half steps and whole steps, or tones and semitones. I like to use half steps and whole steps because it sounds less technical. All right, so let's check it out here. So a tone or whole step is two semitones. Okay, so keeping it really simple tonight. And let's check it out what it looks like on the piano, because the piano is a great way to visualize all this stuff. Okay, so we have a C major scale here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we're starting on the C note. A semitone or a half step, like I said in my other videos, is the closest note or the smallest jump or the smallest interval. So from C to where do you think would be a semitone? Right, yeah, C sharp. So from C to C sharp is a semitone or a half step. Okay, so from the white key to the black key is a half step. Now a tone or a whole step is just two half steps. Okay, so I'm going to go from C to C sharp to D. So that's two semitones, and that is a tone or a whole step. Okay, so C to D is a whole step, C to C sharp is a half step, C sharp to D is a half step. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so now we want to use this to build onto music. We want to take the tones and the semitones and the whole steps and half steps and build music from there. So if those are the atoms of music, what would be the molecules of music? So we're going to put these tones and semitones together to create the next level up, which would be maybe Okay, so like we're putting the letters together to make the next level up. So what would the next level up be from letters? Would be give us words, right? So atoms, the next level up would give us molecules. So we're going to take these semitones and create words with them. And the most basic word that you can learn probably when you're a baby, you said mama, dada. Well, the most basic word you can learn in music would be the scale, the major scale, okay? So we're going to build major scales here today using tones and semitones. So bear with me, we're getting metaphysical here. Okay, so, but it's cool. You're going to learn a lot. So we want to build a major scale. So how do we do that, you ask? Well, we have a major scales. The formula is whole, whole, half step, whole, 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 half. Or whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So say that a million times with me over and over. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, you're gonna memorize that formula, and we're gonna build a major scale off that. Okay, so you're gonna ask me, well, how do you do that? Well, okay, here we go. Let's do it. Start with the C note. We're gonna build a C major scale, and we're gonna start with the C note on our piano, and we're gonna fulfill that formula. So we're gonna go C. So we need a whole step. C to D is a whole step, right? Because there's two semitones, two half steps, C sharp to D. Okay, so C to D is a whole step. We need another whole step. D to E is a whole step. Okay, so whole, whole. Now we need a half step. What's the next closest note to E? It's an F. So there's a half step. Whole, whole, half. Now we need another whole step. Another whole step. Whole is F to G, because there's the black key there. Whole, we need another whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. And B to C, we need a half step. Oh, it's right there. So C is right next to B. So if you notice, the C major scale is super easy because it's all just laid out right there for you. Like basically the C major scale is already in its own formula. We make no adjustments. Okay, so it's just all the white keys. So let's check it out again. C to D, whole, whole, half, E to F, whole, 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 half. So it's all right there on the piano. So that gives us a C major scale. And it has a certain sound, you know, it's got a sound. Okay, so there's a major scale sound. So that was pretty easy. Let's make another scale. Let's make a G major scale now. Okay, so now we're going to start on the G note and go from G to G. Okay, so let's go, but we need that formula to satisfy that formula. So let's try it. So G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. So whole, whole, we needed two whole steps. Half step, we need a half step. Oh, B to C, that's a half step. Need another whole step. Whole, C to D. D to E is a whole step. Now we need another whole step, but we got a problem here because E to F is a half step, but we need a whole step. So how are we going to get a whole step out of E to F? We're going to have to jump. We're going to have to do two half steps. E to F, F to F sharp is going to get us that whole step for the formula. And then F sharp to G is the half step. So we had to make an adjustment in order to satisfy that formula. So let's look at it again. G to A, whole, whole, half, B to C. C to D, whole, whole, D to E, whole. E to F sharp gets us the whole step. F sharp to G gets us the half step. So that's why there's an F sharp in the G major scale. Isn't that cool? So you're thinking, what's the point of this? This is hurting my head. But it's so cool because it's showing you why there's sharps in these scales, because we have to adjust the jumps, the semitone, the half steps and whole steps in order to satisfy the whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half formula. Isn't that cool? So now you know why there's a F sharp in the G major scale. Let's look at another scale. So G, A, B, C. Let's go to the D scale, D major scale. Okay, so we're going to go from D to D, and we're going to fill our formula. So let's do it. D to E, whole. E to F is a half, but we want a whole, right? So we got to go to F sharp. Okay, so D to E was whole, whole to F sharp, half to G, G to A, whole, then we need another whole, A to B, whole, B to C is a half step, but we need a whole step there. So we're going to go from B to C sharp, okay? Because we need another whole step. And C sharp to D, we need a half step, so that's already a half step. So we just jump down to D. Okay, so let's look at that again. So D, E, so whole to F sharp, half to G, whole to A, whole to B, whole to C sharp, and then half to D. Okay, so let's visualize that here. I got them written down. So yeah, we need these sharps to help us satisfy the formula, okay? So there's our C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, no adjustments. G, we needed the F sharp. D, we needed the F sharp and the C sharp in order to satisfy that formula, whole, half, whole, half, okay? And now let's do another. We're just having some fun here. Let's do another scale. So let's do the A scale. So let's start on A. So A to B is whole. B to C, we need C sharp because we need another whole. And then we need a half step. So C sharp to D is a half step. So we had whole, half, whole, D to E, whole, E to F sharp, whole, F sharp to G sharp, because we need two half steps, half. So G sharp to A. Okay, so that was G to A, whole to B. Sorry, A. So A to B, whole to C sharp, half to D, whole to E, whole to F sharp, whole to G sharp, and half to A. Okay, so let's just look at that here, visualize it. Okay, so we went A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. All right. Okay, let's just do one more here. Hope I'm not boring you. It's really interesting. So we're figuring out why we need sharps and flats to satisfy that formula. Whole, half, whole, half, and make adjustments. Let's do one more scale. Let's do the E scale. So you see if you can tell me the notes. Okay, so E, we need a whole step. E to F sharp is a whole step. Whole, we need another whole step. F sharp to G sharp is a whole step. Then we need a half step to A, another whole step to B, whole step to C sharp, whole step to D sharp, and then half step to E. So we said E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. So there's 4 sharps in the key of E in order to satisfy that formula. All right. Okay, so let's check our formulas here. So that was E, F sharp, G sharp. We got 4 sharps. Now I just want you to notice we got a pattern happening here. So I started on the C scale, and I went from C with no sharps. Then G has 1 sharp, D has 2 sharps, A has 3 sharps, the key of A, the A scale. E major scale, key of E, has 4 sharps. So notice how the way we did it, another sharp is being added every time. Take note of that. That's super important. Okay? Because this is a way in which we're grouping these scales or keys together. And that's going to come in handy in this circle of fifths. And maybe we'll do that one, check that one out next week. Okay? So now let's take a look at, let's do one more or 2 more. Let's do one more, and it's going to be a little different. So this time we're going to do the F major scale. Okay? Now this is interesting. So let's go from F to G as a whole, G to A as a whole. Now we need a half steps because it's whole, half. We are going to go to an A sharp, but in the key of F, it's not called A sharp. They call it B flat. Okay, just to confuse your life even more. So it's not A sharp, what you think it would be. It's actually B flat. And the reason for that is you can't have, in a major scale, you have to use every letter. It's a rule. You have to use every letter in the major scale. You can't repeat a letter. So we can't go F, G, A sharp, and then C, right? And you can't skip a letter either. So that's why it has to be B flat. Okay, because then it would be F, G, A, B, C. We do use every letter. So let's do it again. So F to G, whole, G to A is whole, half to B flat, whole to C, whole to D, whole to E, and half to F. Okay, so that satisfies the whole, half formula. And that's why it has to be flat. A sharp and B flat are the same note. It's just spelled differently, but it's the same note. So that third black key there under A sharp, that's also a B flat. I didn't write those in, but okay. So cool. So let's do another one. Let's do B, the key of B flat. Okay, so B flat, and we have to go through and use each letter. So B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So B flat is the A sharp. We need a whole step. B flat to C. Whole step. C to D. So whole half to E flat. Whole to F. Whole to G. Whole to A. And then half to B flat. So the formula would be, the scale would be B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Okay, so we're just basically satisfying that formula by adjusting where we move the notes. Okay, so that was the B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A for that. Okay, so yeah. And look at the order. I'm not going to go through every one of them because it's kind of painful. I don't want to bore you to death. But look at the order of the notes, the flats. Okay, so F has one flat. The key or scale of B flat, this B flat major scale, has two flats, B and E. The E flat major scale has three flats. The A flat major scale has four flats. Now see, we're arranging this in a way in which the number of flats and sharps increases. And this is really helpful because this is where the circle of fifths ties in. Notice that G is a fifth away from C, so C, D, E, F, G. Ooh, that's interesting. G and D, G, A, B, C, D. D is a fifth away from G. D, E, F, G, A. A is a fifth away from D. A, B, C, D, E. E is a fifth away from A. And that's how we get the circle of fifths. And it's also called the circle of fourths. So let's check this one out. So F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat is a fourth away. E, F, G, A flat is a fourth away. So that is why the circle of fifths or the circle of fourths is called what it is, because the circle moves in fifths and fourths, and each time it moves, it adds another sharp on. So it's a nice way to organize what the scales and what is sharp and flat. And we're going to look at that next week for our live. Okay? So that's all I want to say. That's all I want to say tonight. Don't want to get too heavy into it. Just the idea of the major scale has a formula: whole, half, whole, half. And we can build major scales by satisfying that formula. And that's why the sharps and flats come into the scale, because it has to satisfy that whole, half formula. Okay, so memorize that formula, and you're well on your way to understanding the building blocks of music and the foundation of all music. So let me know what you think in the comments, in the chat, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you and what you think is the building blocks of music. Stay with me. Next week we're going to take this to another level. All right, thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great evening.